Lizzie Widhelm is Pandora's Senior Vice President of Ad Product Sales and Strategy, where she spearheads the team that brings advertising products to life in a market. Formerly, Lizzie was Vice President of Digital, where she was responsible for Pandora's digital advertising positioning and oversaw the advertising sales strategy team. Before that, she was Pandora's VP of West Coast Sales and Vice President of National Entertainment Sales, driving Pandora's success with entertainment, film, and TV advertisers. Please welcome Lizzie Widhelm.
Thank you.
Lizzie, I want to begin by kind of setting the stage, because everyone understands that Pandora is incredibly prominent, but just some of the numbers I think are really important and impactful. And I need to take a breath at the same time. Pandora has nearly 80 million active listeners. The platform is integrated into more than 1,700 types of consumer electronics devices and is launched in dash integrations in more than 190 vehicle models. Last year, Pandora pulled in $1.16 billion in revenue, although profits are still a challenge. Pandora acquired Spotify competitor RDO, concert ticket seller Ticketfly, and Next Big Sound, a startup that tracks music online and offers detailed analytics to artists and labels. The acquisitions, to me, signal a change in strategy, a two-pronged strategy, turn Pandora into a more comprehensive place for listening to music, while also making it a more valuable and lucrative resource for musicians. Now, I want to ask you about that evolution, but first, I know you were kind of in the wings watching that presentation. You hadn't seen that before. I'm interested in your feedback. What did you think about that?
I think we should take it on the road. I love it so much. No, it's incredibly great that I think you're covering this point of view. And we joke a little bit when we enter creative agencies, when I'm out in market talking to clients and advertisers. And the joke I tell is the last time a creative, like the person in the room that thinks he's the most creative guy, thought about an audio ad was never. Like, he thinks about the video ad, he thinks about the 30-second video spot. And we have to push that story to make sure that the earbud generation, which continues to grow, and the mobile experience, which continues to drive where a lot of time is spent and where an audio ad plays really, really well. You mentioned consumer electronics. Display doesn't work very well in almost all those use cases. In car, of course, it's not safe. So the opportunity to reach consumers through the audio ad is just growing, and it needs to have a renaissance. It needs to have some thought put forth and some testing and some creativity around it. And yes, it doesn't need to be longer to do that.
And also, I have to
believe. But everyone needs to care a little bit more.
That when you look at the gap between ad dollars on mobile and usage of audio of mobile, which is, I have Mary Meeker's thing every year, always this huge difference.
Yeah, was it 24% she came out with, and only 12% of dollars were being spent there?
Something
so
like that, some
gap.
enormous gap, and the premise is that gap will ultimately be filled. But you can't imagine it being filled by display. I mean, you have to imagine it being filled, at least in large part, by sound, right?
Correct. Yeah, so I think there's just a huge opportunity, and to beg the question to start talking about, let's start with the creative aspect of it, because we can all get excited about storytelling and we can get excited about the ad itself, and then where to put that ad, where's the right audience, where's the right time is sort of the next tactical conversation. But starting a bit upstream with the argument you were making, I think is really important.
Let's talk about that for a sec, because I mean, obviously audio has been undergoing something of a renaissance. We have people in this room who are at the heart of that renaissance. I've heard some stories already in the hour before the event started about some of the really cool things people are engaged in and doing that's designed to create bona fide magnetic content in the audio space, whether it's radio, online radio, Audible, or wherever. Do you think that creation of kind of standout audio content has the potential to compel agencies to at least attract more talent to audio advertising on the platform? Yeah,
I do. I absolutely do. But I think it's on the publishing community to come with best practices and to leverage the data we have to help get them there. I have a really good example. We have a great partner in Taco Bell, and we were doing some testing with them just around aging the voice of the voice that was coming through on their spot, and this was some work we did with them last year, and playing with that age and then leveraging different ages of the voice to their respective targets. So the 18-year-old hears a voice that sounds a bit more like what his friends and peers probably sound like, and then the 25-year-old hears a different sort of voice that, again, is aged appropriately. And it was a really interesting way of thinking about how you can leverage data and drive creativity through that. And we ended up having a multi-spot sort of variable test with them that worked really well.
So in other words, different voice is viewed as relevant to the target,
Right.
scored differently relative to that target, and you were able to measure all that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's everything from did I hear it, did you get my attention, all of the sort of words that were represented in your word cloud, that just the age of the voice, and there's a whole bunch of other pieces to a spot, and music bed and tempo and all of that fun stuff, but just the very simple change of the age of the voice of which I'm hearing, did it sound like my dad or my friend, had impact.
One of the things I always think about relative to especially the advertising on online radio, because of the ability to target and tailor that, is that there's so much emphasis in relevance. That second bar, the one that was almost tied, the one that said funny, buzzworthy, worth sharing, the one that requires actual creative content is usually what's lacking. Not uniform, not just for online, it's for all audio. But
Yeah.
it seems to me like so much emphasis on relevance elevates relevance past the point where it really needs to live, when there's this other content piece also that's important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that the word that wasn't there that is interesting is also personalized. And how personalized does the spot need to be, which again gets my attention and drives relevant, and all of the brand metrics like awareness and intent to purchase and all that stuff starts to change. And we're starting to think about that at Pandora.
Can you ever get my name in the spot?
I mean, you can for display, I don't know, dynamically created audio. So dynamically created display is DCO, and everybody does it in the display world, and it absolutely could say your name if I
Remember
knew
those
you were
old
logged
records,
in.
those old
Yeah.
record days, there
Yeah.
would be a happy birthday, and then it would insert your name out of
We
nowhere.
should
You remember
test it.
that?
It might sound like the thing in your car where it's like Sepulveda Boulevard, and it might
As long
not
as it
sound
works
right.
better, as long
It's
as
always my favorite.
as long as it works better than Siri, I'm all for it.
Hey, Echo works great.
I haven't tried Echo. I'll get on that. The evolution we talked about with Pandora, the evolution, these acquisitions that have been part of the past year, in association with Tim's arrival in the main seat. Why is that? Obviously, that evolution, the purpose of that is to grow revenue and achieve profitability and so on. But why is that particular evolution? Why are those particular moves so important?
Yeah. Another sort of setting the table data point I want to share is that against those 80 million listeners, we see over 2 hours a day with them, and we see up to 23 hours a month with them. And in any given day, we actually collect north of a billion data points just on the platform, right? And so for 10 years, and you did my very long intro, which I'm sure was incredibly boring, but I have been at Pandora
I read it fast.
You did. For 10 years. I've been at the company a decade. I've been there since we launched. And so what we've done all along is really looked at that data to try to understand, how do we retain audience? How do we ensure that we're optimizing for time spent on the platform? Because that's what allows us to monetize. That's what creates habit-forming behavior. And the data we had been seeing in recent quarters led us to believe there was a huge opportunity in bringing the ticketing experience as it relates to finding when artists are in your town into the experience, because that's an extension of what you love about music, is you love live music. So that's just one example, and we're going to continue to do that with the service itself to understand what does on-demand look like on Pandora. If I really want to listen to a song 17 times over and over again, like my kids like to do, how can you do that within the framework of Pandora? And the data that we saw around the younger audience is really loving that sort of behavior and then maybe going somewhere else for it. We want to preserve that time spent. So you're going to continue to see us look at acquisition targets that make sense in terms of a feature set that should live on the platform. And you're going to see new ad products roll out, which we can talk about. And you're going to see the experience change as a whole in terms of, I love coming in and listening to my Fleetwood Mac station, but if I just really want to hear a particular song over and over again, can I unlock that? And can Pandora enable that so I don't have to go to YouTube or Spotify or someone else? So that's the goal of this sort of direction that Tim's talked about openly within the last couple news cycles.
How is that new shape of Pandora likely to be different from the shape that we see of Spotify today?
Well, it'll be uniquely ours. So what we don't want to do is unlock a catalog of music you don't care about, just to say we unlocked a catalog of music and we put it on the platform. Discovery, ease of use, personalization has to be in the DNA of everything we do. So if I, again, love that Fleetwood Mac station and there's an artist that sounds similar and we have an on-demand experience with that artist in terms of the rights, and it's something I would want to hear, it could be presented to me in the scope of a playlist or a single track. So I'm not going to prescribe today exactly how we're going to do it, but we want it to be different in the sense that it should meet the level of personalization and ease of use that you expect from us. It shouldn't require you to rummage around to sort of find what maybe somebody else is interested in just because it's there. So that's how we will differentiate.
Okay. Now, in the research I've done, I've seen that there's a tendency for a certain type of person to favor Pandora and a certain different type of person to favor a Spotify because they offer largely different things. Is your intention to add more stuff for the Pandora fan or to attract more of the people who go to other platforms like Spotify?
All of it. Both. We definitely want to do both.
King of the world.
Yes, 100%, world domination. No, and it's not just about music too. Recently this year we have a partnership that's going really great with Serial and This American Life, and we're really excited about that test because bringing non-music content onto the platform was something that we thought would engage an audience that loved Pandora, but was going, again, to other places to experience spoken word content. And we're continuing to test. Some of the early results there have been great in terms of that TSL number, so we track against time spent listening. That data point's really important for us to understand, did it keep you on the platform longer? Were you more engaged? Do we have your attention for longer throughout the day? That's, I mean, but time is the currency, right? Like there's only 24 hours in the day. That's what we need to optimize towards.
So what have you learned from that experiment with Serial? I mean, because obviously the initial question would be, well, Serial's available everywhere.
Yeah.
Why should it be available there too?
Pandora lovers want to stay on the platform. It's easy, it's in your pocket, it's an app you're used to using, you have it integrated into your car, you have it integrated into your home. We want that to be frictionless, of course, and so the opportunity to bring that content on was really exciting for the entire user base that loves This American Life and Serial.
So in a sense, you're thinking of the platform the way Amazon thinks of its platform, which is we don't want people to have to go find something from outside our four walls.
Right. And it's
Do you
working.
want to elaborate on that?
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward, right? We have the data that shows us that they were interested, there were interests that were lying outside of Pandora. I talked about on-demand, non-music content, ticketing. Why not bring it in if we can, and why not, expose a larger and broader feature set to optimize to keep people on the platform? It lets us monetize them, and it produces more and more data for us. Again, knowing where you are and giving us, location data or preference data beyond just your music behavior and what we have that's declared about you, which is your age and gender, is really important for the ad community. To be relevant, you have to know who I am. The power of the logged-in user is what drives ROI. It's table stakes at this point. Nobody wants to get an ad for something that they don't care about. And we even see it in the web world, right? You buy a pair of shoes and then you're still getting the ad for the pair of shoes. You're never going to buy the shoes again. I know. It's like Stuart Weitzman shoes. I already got those.
You mentioned earlier new ad products. Can you talk about kind of some of the advertising innovations that you guys are rolling out?
Yeah, so I'm obsessive over advertising because I really want it to be rewarding for our listeners. We launched a product called Sponsored Listening, and the problem we were trying to solve is that many marketers came to us and wanted to leverage their video assets and deliver them to our audience on the platform. But putting in a video ad sort of in between you and you trying to get with your music is maybe not the best way to do it. Could we have you watch a video ad and then unlock an experience for you that was a nice value exchange, that gave you something that we already knew you liked? Well, everybody likes maybe not hearing ads, right? But they don't want to pay for it. The American population can subscribe on Pandora to no ads, and the number hasn't changed too much in terms of the people that would rather have the ad-supported service. So Sponsored Listening, you watch a video ad, and for watching that and for giving your true attention to that marketer, you then get an hour of no more interruptions brought to you by that advertiser. So these are just little ways we're thinking about.
That's native advertising.
It's native advertising. It's unique to us. We didn't give away a ticket to go see, a movie, right? It's unique to what I know you already like, and we're going to continue to be building on those types of experiences. So how can we take advertising, and instead of it being in the way of what you want to get at, it unlocks more of what we know you like. And then you can see us over time thinking about how we'll personalize that. So if you love to skip, or if you really don't want ads, or if you want to replay songs, or if you want to, hear from an artist, or you want a special station, these are the types of things we can bring to life for you.
So it's kind of like a toll in a sense, right?
Yeah,
a toll that unlocks your ability to travel the road you want to travel.
And it's not a new idea, but what's unique about what we're doing is we are making it specific to us, that we are not unlocking and offering random things. Mm-hmm. We know the payoff for you, and we know what you want ahead of time because we have all that data. We see your behavior, right? So that's what's really fun about sort of where we're going. We have two things we say a lot internally. What's good for the listener is good for the advertiser, and that has to matter. And then how to make more money with less ads. And these are the types of experiences that we can build for advertisers where they don't have to be so wasteful. They're willing to invest a premium price because we're guaranteeing attention.
Talk to me about the sales strategy going forward. With the evolution, that's a change in the business model. These other elements mean new baubles are added to the platform, and that's a substantial change in the business model. How is it going to change your sales strategy going forward?
It won't change too much of how we deploy in market. We are definitely working to spend more time with clients and agencies working through how experiences like this might drive new KPIs. So key performance indicators today, I bought a product, click is of course a very common proxy, but not necessarily the best for effectiveness. Mm-hmm. So I'd say that the strategy is more focused on ensuring that the ROI model is connected to these new experiences. And there's a lot of plumbing work to be done there. Frankly, that's going to be the most challenging part of this departure because it requires the buyer on the other side to say, I'm willing to let go of an attribution model, of a measurement strategy that I've deployed for 30 years or 10 years, to understand that you're right, what matters is attention and quality, and I might pay more, but I'm going to get more. And that isn't normal today.
Well, that relates to my next question, which is how do you what success metrics are your clients looking for from you, and what do you provide to them in that regard?
Yeah, I'd say that this is an ever-evolving strategy, and any publisher in the space is having to work hard around measurement. So first-party measurement, of course, we're providing viewability. Did someone see it? Was it a human? We have them logged in, so we know that. But in taking it a step further, how long did we have their attention? What were the ways in which they engaged with the ad? And you see this on Instagram, you see it on Facebook, you see it in a lot of the great places where advertising is happening, that there's a level of exploration I can do before I go off the site, right? Before I'm directed to Amazon or J.Crew or wherever I'm going. So all of those signals we are now packaging up and producing for clients so they can understand and optimize against it. I think, the click is interesting in the mobile environment. We're playing around a bit with how do you take back the click and make it matter again? Because it is a good signal that I want to go somewhere and get more information, but how can you get their attention and tell that story, right? You talked about it at the front end of that. So I don't think we have it exactly figured out saying these are the 5 metrics that if you optimize for, every client is fairly unique in that regard. So lots and lots of case studies.
Okay. What can Pandora do that radio can't do, and what can radio do that Pandora can't do?
That's a good one. And I think that classifying the word radio is interesting today because there are a lot of great content developers, I've met a few since I've been here today, that have limited opportunity in terms of scale. We obviously have great scale, and with great scale you have a lot of data, so we're able to do a lot in terms of precision targeting and understanding over time who you are. So that's our benefit, right? But what I don't have is local flavor. I can't say to the person in Tampa in a voice that maybe is going to be most relevant to them, something that's going to reflect that I know them because I live in Tampa, right? And I am a personalized experience, so I don't have a disc jockey that's sort of making that connection. And then, of course, localized content, weather, sports, there's all sorts of content that naturally is a little bit harder if you have a personalization model to live on our platform. So I don't know if it's a better or worse, it's just where we can compete and do it well, and where radio today can compete and do it well.
Will we ever see a voice behind a microphone with a Pandora cube on it the way we do for Apple Music?
I don't know. We have put a voice behind a microphone at live events. So we do live stream out of South by when we're there for the weeks we're there helping to, break and drive discovery for new artists. And where it makes sense for us to be there in the flesh, to have the voice of Pandora and be able to put that content out, we will. It's definitely something we talk about all the time, but...
I'm talking about a bigger voice.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, that's a good answer.
We'll see.
Everybody thank Lizzie Widhelm from
Thank you.
Pandora. Lizzie, thank you.